Sitsqualo qual tudsda, tulol Skagit. My name is Lora Pennington. I'm from Upper Skagit. I am an elder of the Upper Skagit tribe, but I grew up in Seattle at the late 60s and early 70s when there was a lot of change happening. A lot of folks were noticing how bad the environment was. I used to fish in Lake Union, one of the most polluted bodies of water in Seattle at the time. And we were pulling out little perch and crawdads and eating them. And to think of what we had at that time available to us in clean, fresh fish. And yet here we were fishing in Lake Union. It was an interesting time. There was a great deal of interest about the environment. And so we were eco kids, and we would walk around with our plastic bags they gave us and pick up trash and throw the plastic bags with all of the recyclables into the trash because there was no recycling program at all. It was interesting because as a tribal person, a very traditional tribal person, growing up in an urban environment, the ways that you expressed yourself, the ways that fed your soul were to come even out into the cow pastures and play. And those cow pastures are now huge malls that now sit empty. Or to come up here to the Skagit and to come out when my family, my great uncle, Skabibidkid, Lawrence, Okie Joe, he would come and fish here and to love it and to be here year round and to see whether there was a fire on the side of the river and they were out there on the water, or whether there was snow on the ground, and just getting to play and having so much fish. I never saw it when you could walk the Skagit on the back of the fish. I've seen that elsewhere, but only far afield in Canada, Alaska, not here on my home river, my Skagit. I'm lucky though. When I went to the University of Washington, my advisor was Lakota elder, Roberta Wilson, who took one look at me, and I didn't know it, but she became my Lakota mama, and she changed my life. She put me in a class that was taught by an elder, Takshablu, Vi Hilbert in her posted name, but a class I never wanted to take, never intended to take. I had all my humanities, and Mama Berta said, take this class. And I said, nah, I don't need it. She said, take this class. And I said, I've got all of those. And so on the first day of class, I walked into this class I never wanted to take, sat down, and Takshablu, Grandma Takshablu, said, who's Indian? What tribe are you? Who's First Nations? And I raised my hand as the punk that I was and said, she got to me and said, what's your tribe? I said, Upper Skagit. She said, I wanted to see you after class. And I said, great. First day of college is like the high school. I'm in trouble first day. After class, I go up to her, and Grandma Vi said, who's your family? I said, my grandma had died when my mom was 9. So I didn't expect anybody to know her. I said, well, my grandma is Eva Jo. You wouldn't. And she said, that's my cousin. We were raised as sisters. When I went back to our tribal youth club, and I said, that's my grandma, my great aunt, my aunt? They said, easy A. Nope, it was the hardest class I've ever taken. Every time I turned around, she said, what does my niece have to say? And her niece in her head would say, I did my assignment last week. I don't have anything to say this week. But my feet would carry me up there, and out of my mouth would come whatever Grandma Vi had been teaching us. Things like the earth is your first teacher, and how you treat your first teacher is an important measure of who you are. She would teach us things like, as a tribal person, you have an awareness of who your relatives are, who your family is, and it doesn't stay limited to people or humans. Grandmother Cedar is my relative. To this day, I take the bark from my grandmother cedar, I carefully prepare it, and then make it into baskets or clothing. But without that relationship with the cedar tree, I'm nothing but somebody who bends material. As a weaver, that tree is as important to me as my nieces, nephews, my cousins, my grandchildren, my mom, my grandparents. That tree enables me as a human. In my traditional culture, we say the cedar bark takes you from cradle to grave, literally. But spiritually, that tree is as important to my people as my culture and language are. One of the things that Grandma Vi Hilbert Takshablu did is she traveled the world as a storyteller. And one of my favorite stories of hers is a story called Lady Louse. Aslaslil kusi bischad, altahi kwa al, dayai, hui kui gusyayas, hoi quadado, gwel ue guido, tia hi kwa al, cast jail gwel. Hoi lauf, pui lauf, shabshu bischad, disois. Lady Louse lived there in a great big house. She had no friends. She had no relatives. She was all alone in that great big house. One day she took it and she swept it. It was filthy dirty. When she got to the middle of that great big house, she got lost. And that was the end of Lady Louse. That contains the first Lashutsit I ever spoke. Shabshu bischad. Shabshu bischad. I went home from the University of Washington that day saying Shabshu bischad, and that was the end of Lady Louse. Sometimes people think that that story isn't about them. It is. We don't look down on people and think that they won't understand that story. I've told that from kindergartners. Grandma Vi told it to the Dalai Lama. It's a beautiful story. It's as simple as 9 lines, but it's as deep as Shakespeare, the Iliad. Every time you hear it, you hear something different. But what I have always loved about that story is that we, as human beings, have the ability to take something as simple as a broom and clean up that square foot of land we stand on and take responsibility for it, take stewardship of it. If I can harvest cedar bark from a tree as important as a grandmother cedar, then I can also feed that tree, water that tree. I can take responsibility for every tree that I've harvested from. And to this day, 30 years later, I still go back and visit them and make sure they're doing well. As a weaver for my tribe, that's I almost said my job. No, it's a gift that I get to do. I get to be alive and on this earth at this time and take responsibility for myself as a person, as I did when I was a child, I do now as an adult, as I did when I was a single young woman now, I do as a grandmother, a great aunt. These are the things that we can do as humans, and it's important. The last little piece that I wanted to tell you was another thing from Grandma Vi. And Let me take a minute. I knew I'd need to write this down. Okay. Iabadches, akwi bakwat. Dia yalyalabches. Akwi has tidishits. We give honor to all that our friends and our relatives have given us. And that honor as people teaches us where we need to go for tomorrow. Oh, my sister. Amen. Okay.